Welcome to So You Know. I'm Russell Conte with Sewing Art Center. Today I want to show you how to make French seams for your garments to give you a nice, clean, professional finish. You ready? Let's get to it. So the first step in the French seam is simply to sew the fabric so that they're face up and face out. So we're going to sew 1/4 inch away from the edge of the fabric. We should be using a regulation stitch length appropriate to the weight of the fabric, in this case 2 millimeters. The size of our needle for a lightweight fabric should be a size 70 sharp. And also you should be using a good quality thread. My preferred thread for garment construction is a 50 weight cotton. Now that we've sewn the first time, we're going to go ahead and trim half of the seam allowance away, simply to reduce bulk in the seam and also so that none of that edge ends up showing on the outside of the garment once we sew it the final time. On a conventional seam allowance, we'd sew it 5/8 of an inch away from the edge with the right sides of the fabric together. This time we're sewing with the wrong sides together, right sides out, 1/4 inch away from the edge, and then finally we'll sew it a second time on the inside of the fabric 3/8 of an inch away from the edge. At this juncture we're ready for pressing. So we've sewn the seam allowance 1/4 inch away from the edge. We've trimmed the excess fabric down to about 1/8 of an inch away from the stitch line, and now we're going to press it. It's a 3-step process. The first step, we simply want to press the seam allowance or the stitching line right into the fabric. So just bed it in. It just makes it more stable, more secure, gives us a nicer finish. We'll do that both sides. And once we've done that, we'll open up the garment and we'll press that seam allowance to one direction or the other. It does not matter to which side you press it. However, it is unnecessary to press the seam allowance open. Okay. What we do want to do is make sure we hold a little bit of tension on the seam allowance so we actually get the press line right into the seam allowance and don't catch extra fabric. Finally, we'll press it so that the seam allowance is right there. One more time, right on the fold. And we're prepared for sewing again and again. This time we're going to sew it 3/8 of an inch away from the edge, creating a casing inside which the raw edge will be covered, and we'll have this little flange of fabric on the inside of the garment. And we're at our final step for sewing, where we're going to sew the seam allowance on the inside at this point. And again, the first time we sew it 1/4 inch away from the edge, the second 3/8 of an inch away from the edge. So I've set the machine up so that appropriately I can use the edge of the foot as my guide, and I've moved the needle position over so that it will accommodate a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And we'll sew. Back stitch at the end, come off the edge, cut your threads, raise your foot, trim the excess away, and there's our finished French seam. Just that easy. Thank you for joining us for this edition of So You Know. I'm Russell Conte with Sewing Art Center. Please feel free to contact us at soyouknow.com or sewingartcenter.com. Look forward to more editions of So You Know in the very near future.